We've all done it. We've all convinced ourselves that we can become a law-abiding citizen of the world. Stopping at red lights in the metropolitan heart of Liberty City, cruising safely below the speed limit through the vistas of Los Santos, not punching anyone, even if they look at you funny, or get in your face.
How are you allowed to walk the street, moron?
But sure enough, those criminal instincts kick in, and it's back to what Grand Theft Auto is all about: reckless driving, wild shootouts, and building a rap sheet that would make El Chapo blush. The GTA series has been met with constant controversy following each and every release, and yet it's always managed to thrive. The series has grown into one of the best-selling entertainment franchises of all time, becoming a cultural icon in the process. Those seeking to undermine the immense success of the games only helped to propel the series from a cult hit into a titan of the gaming industry. It's undeniable that the game's developer, Rockstar, lived up to their name in the industry. But before becoming the unstoppable force of nature they are now, they were a small indie game developer in Scotland called DMA Design.
A DMA Design game.
Founded by programmer David Jones over 30 years ago, the vision for DMA Design was simple: take big risks and challenge the status quo. By the start of the 90s, DMA Design was becoming a fairly reputable developer. Their third release was their first major commercial and critical success. That game was Lemmings. This sweet little puzzle game about getting anthropomorphized lemmings safely from point A to point B has now become known as a crucial cornerstone in video game history, and put DMA Design on everybody's radar. DMA continued their success with multiple sequels and spin-offs to the title, though none were ever able to achieve the same level of popularity as the original. Jones was ready to break away from the image of being the Lemmings guy, and began development on a totally new game. An open-world driving game set in a living city. DMA Design started work on Race and Chase, a multiplayer driving game with two key selling points: racing and chasing. But as development continued, design elements changed, and ambitions grew loftier. The game soon became about cops and robbers, but the most significant shift came when the team recognized a simple fact: sometimes it's good to be bad. Jones and DMA were always willing to take the big risks, and this was certainly one of them. The project swiftly moved away from the harmless and goofy racing game to the drastically more violent and profoundly more adult Grand Theft Auto. They'd had their eureka moment, but the following stages were far from smooth sailing. Development was constantly marred by seemingly unfixable bugs and creative differences. With DMA getting close to pulling the plug on numerous occasions, the team was in a constant battle to keep the game alive. The GTA series was almost over before it had even begun. But, despite missing every single development milestone, including their own release date, the DMA team kept up the good fight, and strove to make a game that was wholly unique. October 1997. After a turbulent development process, Grand Theft Auto finally hits the shelves. DMA Design and David Jones nervously awaited feedback on their ambitious project. The critical response was remarkably mixed. Some adored the game, praising the music, the open world, and the gameplay, but others simply loathed it. Major critics cited the graphics as a serious problem, along with the careless design, poor controls, and the feeling that some of the game remained unfinished. But this was nothing compared to the backlash from disgusted parents and guardians, attempting to protect children from the game and its themes. Multiple governments rallied around these protesters, agreeing that the game's depiction of crime was intensely unsavory. Britain, Germany, and France all condemned the extreme violence, and in Brazil, the game was even banned. However, against all the odds, the game was an immense commercial success. As it turned out, controversy made Grand Theft Auto quite the hot commodity, and sales skyrocketed. DMA had tasted the wrath of the public, and come out the other end better off. So they set out to capitalize on their surprising triumph by starting development on a sequel. The development for the second installment started out smoother. The team knew what they wanted, and they had a general idea on how to get there. Fans of the previous game had high hopes for what was in store. Things seemed to be clicking. They wanted to push things even further, make the follow-up bigger, better, more exciting, more entertaining, and more outrageous than its predecessor. But something went wrong along the way. The game was released in late 1999, and the general consensus was that, while some improvements were made, this new game was, quite frankly, disappointing. The gameplay was bland, and the graphics were underwhelming. The only saving grace was the soundtrack. Even controversies weren't enough to drum up additional sales of the game. The shock value of the first game seemed to be wearing off. Even the ratings board found this game rather tame, giving it a teen rating. GTA 2 was trying to up the ante. Not only were there cosmetic alterations, there was going to be more story to the game. The concept was built around the simple premise of respect is everything.
And remember, respect is everything.
The aim was to open up gameplay for the player, really allowing them to make choices that affect the world. The story wasn't exactly 1984, but it was definitely an evolution. Its aim was to give the game more focus and offer motivations to the player, hoping to encourage engagement and replayability. Telling a story in the game was possibly the biggest risk taken by the team working on GTA 2. It was the most significant aspect differentiating itself from its predecessor. The goal was to set itself apart and to be unique. But this wasn't really a risky move, it was more just taking the next logical step forward. Given that DMA had garnered widespread attention for going against the grain, the team behind it were playing it remarkably safe. But this in turn meant that GTA 2 wasn't anything exciting. It was a carbon copy of the original, with, of course, a little bit more polish. Things seemed to be falling apart. David Jones left DMA Design to pursue other projects, as did the lead programmers, lead game designers, and artists. After their moment in the spotlight, things looked bleak for the GTA series. They had to get out ahead and think bigger. Whilst members of development bowed out, two producers were adamant not to say die just yet. The brothers, Sam and Dan Houser. They had some pretty big plans for the series. The duo took over the creative direction for the game, and they brought this stalling franchise into an entirely new world. GTA 3 was in the works, and it was clear that DMA Design, with their new creative directors at the helm, were ready to deliver on their mission statement. The core development team was made up of just 23 people. They worked quickly, and by early 2001, this modest team was able to design the majority of the enormous map. The work of bringing a 2D game into a 3D world was far from easy, but the team gave everything they had to this project and dedicated themselves to making an utterly unique game. For the first time, the team was totally unified by a shared goal. But design of the story was proving to be a significant challenge for Dan Houser. The whole concept of GTA was encouraging complete player freedom. Too much story, and the game loses itself. Not enough, and things land out of context. The final decision was to have the game's missions be self-contained stories. This way, players could approach the game as they saw fit, in any manner of their choosing. Development was hitting its stride, and striving to be as groundbreaking as the game that started it all. With the release date of the 3rd of October fast approaching, tragedy struck America with the 9/11 terrorist attack. In the air of respect, cuts and modifications to the game needed to be made. Various aesthetic changes were implemented, including the removal of multiple skyscrapers. Additionally, flight paths for airplanes were altered along with making them non-solid objects so that players could not destroy or control them. Rumors flew around, questioning what else was removed from the game. Rockstar asserted that only 1% of the game was changed, including a number of notable aesthetic changes, such as a rehaul of the game's cover art. The updated art style became the signature look for the following games. When GTA 3 was finally released, it instantly became a marvel of gaming achievement. The game was a resounding success critically and commercially. GTA 3 was immediately considered a landmark achievement. Praise mostly went to the game's concept and gameplay, and the open-world design was adored for its detail and originality. But, of course, it wasn't short of controversy. Those up in arms about the previous titles were in for a shock with the details of violent viscera in the game's new 3D setting. A large community of parents were incensed by this new phenomenon infecting their children. In their eyes, this game was nothing but a murder simulator. But these protests only succeeded in pushing the game further into the roots of youth culture. It ignited a deeper desire in young people to play it. As was proven with the original, controversy leads to demand, which leads to profit. GTA 3 is, to this day, considered one of the most important entries in gaming history, and the title that laid the foundations for GTA's place as a significant part of everyday pop culture. But the ambition of the House of Brothers didn't peak in 2001. This was just the test before the real leap. Grand Theft Auto 3 left a categorical impression on the mass market, for better and for worse. While this was viewed by many to be the developer's magnum opus, it soon became clear that the team behind it were only just warming up. The meteoric rise of the small Scottish outfit was turning heads, and at the end of production, DMA design was absorbed into the house's Rockstar Games label and renamed Rockstar North. It was time to build upon the legacy of GTA 3. Fans were clamoring to see more, and critics were keen to see how the houses intended to follow up such a remarkable release. The whole team was under pressure to deliver another game of the same caliber.
I like that in a man.
With me, you get a lot of bang for your buck.
They began development on a new mission pack to expand GTA 3, but the team grew so fond of the concept they developed it into its own game, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Production was rapid, but the team remained focused on pushing the capabilities of technology. They didn't want to make a game as good as GTA 3, they wanted to surpass it in every way. It took just 12 months for the team to shock the world again, and go above and beyond the title which had landed them in the spotlight. Yet again they'd released something that was considered a landmark in gaming history. Rockstar had established a loyal fanbase, achieved critical and commercial success, and sparked widespread debate regarding their content. And with this newest entry, they felt that it was time to enter this discussion themselves. GTA San Andreas.
Here we go again.
Rockstar's focus for this game was to always be ambitious, expand on everything, and experiment across the board. The team continued to push technology and superseded perceived limitations by constantly extending the map, swelling it to become 5 times larger than Vice City's. The creative designers were also keen to implement RPG elements to the game to maximize player freedom, which would become a staple feature for their future titles. The writing team was prepared to take on a slew of volatile subject matters: gang violence, drug epidemics, police corruption, and a powder-keg society of social and cultural dispute. This game was daring to be different, and shed light on complex and uncomfortable events. The GTA series had already forged a reputation of being brash, violent, and risque. Why would Rockstar want to gain further notoriety for exploring such delicate material? Because San Andreas was intended to be more than just the same controversial game. It was an attempt to satirize and address the perception of American culture and contemporary society. The aim of wrapping this deeper evaluation up in a vast and entertaining game was to have players acknowledge the pitfalls of modern civilization and reflect on the current situation in the real world. San Andreas was a game prepared to be analyzed and scrutinized. It welcomed assessment. Rockstar set out to delve further into designing a living, breathing world, one that could parallel our own. And, upon release in October 2004, there was universal agreement. This was a damn good game. It was still as violent and offensive as ever, but nobody could refute the ambition and innovation behind it. Critics praised the creative direction of the game, appreciating the attempt to highlight culturally appropriate themes. Very few games had been bold enough to hold the mirror up to society like this one. San Andreas will be remembered for its unflinching handling of subject matters few developers dare tread on. It was the game that changed the tone for the future of the series. and it had established the GTA franchise as a cultural icon.
Man, are you a buster?
Nah, I'm down, homie.
The Rockstar team took just 1 month off to celebrate their smash hit. They were still far from done on their journey. Sam Houser wanted to move the game into an entirely new era, something grittier, with an impact above and beyond what they'd accomplished so far. Apparently, trying to follow up to one of the most revered games of an entire generation was proving to be quite the task, or as Sam Houser described it, an absolute nightmare. Multiple changes were made to the development process, including the number of staff working on the game, which had exceeded 1,000 employees, all dedicated full-time. It was clear that Rockstar were building something special. The emergence of HD in gaming was another opportunity for the development team to really push the capabilities of technology. The improved animation, game physics, and lighting that were afforded to the designers directly impacted Dan Houser's approach to the story. He wanted the narrative to match the new game mechanics, as without the right balance, the game might feel disjointed and confused. As all of the previous stories were in some way modeled after or inspired by specific films, this new era was set to focus on originality. The final script ended up being just shy of 1,000 pages and contained a whopping 80,000 lines of dialogue. 3 years later, GTA 4 was released, and of course, all of the work that was put in yielded unbelievable results. The team behind it had, once again, outdone themselves. The accolades, praise, and commercial success that came with every game continued. But the objection was mounting. As Rockstar got stronger, so did their opposition. Anti-GTA groups branded the game and its violence as mindless as ever. Rockstar were constantly being threatened with legal action and the removal of their games from sale, along with heavy censorship in various countries such as Australia and Thailand. Whenever a crime was perpetrated by a young person, it was thrust into the public eye, with GTA being suggested as the root cause. One man was leading that charge, eccentric attorney Jack Thompson. He was the figurehead in the war on all violent video games, but he held a special place in his heart for Grand Theft Auto. Thompson attempted to sue Rockstar Games for a combined total of well over $3 billion, but somewhat surprisingly, he was never successful.
These games are actually processed in an adolescent and in a teen in the part of the brain in which copycatting is likely to occur, whereas adults process them in the forebrain where differentiation between reality and fantasy occur.
His battles with the gaming industry garnered widespread attention and exacerbated public outrage, so much so that the ESRB had to act. San Andreas received a re-rating from mature to adults only. Rockstar seemed to take the messages perpetuated by Thompson very seriously. They even went as far as including him in GTA 4 to help further his cause. He threatened litigation, but frivolous lawsuits and public fury weren't going to deter Rockstar now. Development began immediately on the 5th installment to the series.
He doesn't look like he enjoys life too much. Dude, come on.
The team were keen to utilize updated technology and experiment with designs that were considered pipe dreams in previous years. It was clear that the objective was to go further than they'd ever attempted before, in every way possible. The game was released in September 2013, and it was no surprise that Rockstar had yet again another hit on their hands. In just 3 days, the game broke the $1 billion milestone. It became the fastest-selling entertainment product of all time, and has remained immensely popular across 3 different console generations. Its online material has continued to remain both popular and lucrative for the franchise, still bringing in enormous amounts of cash even now, 7 years on. They've continued to install new content packs regularly, while providing system updates for GTA Online, with more of both still in development. And fans are frantically throwing their money into an online mode for a single-player game released in 2013. And yet, strangely, this seemed to be some kind of passion project. Something about the approach, the commitment to implementing older ideas. It evoked feelings that this might be a farewell release. For years, fans have been asking, how could they do better than that? and every time Rockstar have topped it. But things are different now. Two key pieces of the GTA team have parted ways with Rockstar Games. Longtime producer Leslie Benzies resigned in 2016 after taking an extended sabbatical, and Dan Houser stepped away in 2020. They were vital in the production of GTA and became giants in the industry as a result. They consistently avoided the spotlight and always put their games first. They promoted the Rockstar brand and teamwork rather than seeking personal recognition. It's impossible at this stage to know if the company will be the same without them, but it does beg the question: does GTA still have a long future to look forward to? Or is all that's left the illustrious legacy it's fought so hard to cultivate and maintain? With each and every release, the GTA franchise has gotten more successful, always going from strength to strength, with each iteration garnering more critical praise than the last. Even in the face of countless controversies and lawsuits, Rockstar stands by its product. Major installments of the GTA series are always highly anticipated. A quick Google of GTA 6 will show how keen fans are for the newest addition to the collection, and with GTA Online still keeping players entertained, Rockstar are able to perpetuate community demand for the new game. However, the question still remains: could a new Grand Theft Auto game really thrive? In the modern climate of social awareness and political correctness, is there still a place for a politically incorrect game such as this one? GTA has shown that it's not afraid to tackle murky subject matter and drive headlong into the backlash. Perhaps they'll take the opportunity to run a commentary on political correctness, cancel culture, and social justice. It wouldn't be the first time they've done it. But it's hard to see how Rockstar could pull it off this time, in the face of deep political, cultural, and social division. But the team has proven time and time again that they're ready to take on a losing battle, and have always come out the other end better off. They've kept the world on their toes before, and we dare say they'll do it again. Thank you for watching, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next episode of Origins.